My name is Patrick, and I'm a survivor of the Northern Illinois University shooting. On February 14th, 2008, I was sitting in my geology classroom learning about oceans when all of a sudden a gunman kicked the door open on the stage door. I didn't know what was going on at first. He had a guitar case and a long trench coat. He set the guitar case down and pulled out a shotgun from there and immediately started shooting at us. I didn't know what was going on in my head. I thought it was some sort of prank or something. But then I realized it was real when, I heard shotgun pellets hitting the chairs. I heard kids screaming. I got under my desk immediately after the second or third shot and stayed under there. He kept shooting and shooting. All of a sudden, he paused and someone in the classroom shouted, "He's reloading." When that happened, I crawled from under my desk towards the aisles that lead to the exits of the classroom, and I started crawling up towards the exits. I got up, he shot again, and then I felt something hit me in the back of the head, and there was blood all over my hand. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I've been shot." Um, so I kept trying to get out of the exit. There was a mass crowd of students trying to get out like I was, and finally, when I got outside, I told someone that was out there, "Call 911, call 911. There's a shooter in the classroom." Things were just going through my head. I was holding my hand, the back of my head. There was blood dripping down my hand. I didn't know what was going on. I was so scared. I didn't know if there were more shooters on campus. But that day, that was such a scary day. From the moment it happened to when I finally got to the hospital. And then when I got to the hospital, they checked my blood pressure and they said, "Did you realize you were shot in your arm?" And I had a big welt and blood on my arm and my left arm. It was such a tragic moment. Social acknowledgement, I think, is important to me because I think other people that don't really know what it's like being in a mass shooting, they need to be more acknowledged about it. An example of that is I've heard some people say, "Oh, if you had a gun in the classroom, there would have been no deaths. 5 of my classmates were killed. There were 21 of us injured." But the moment that happens, it is complete chaos. Your mind shuts down. So I just think people need to be more aware of what it's like for us when what we went through and how difficult it is. The steps from the day after the shooting to even 10 years after the shooting, it's still impactful. Just other people listening to survivor stories, a lot of them are going to be very similar as far as how we're impacted and how we feel. And I think that's very important. I wish people knew more about mass shooting survivors in a way that it still impacts us years later. Hearing things like, "Oh, you should get over it. It happened 15 years ago," or, "Oh, do you not like guns?" or, "What do you think about guns?" or, "Why, if you had a gun in there in the classroom, you would have been fine. No one would have been killed." I think that they just need to stop coming to conclusions and thinking that we're okay versus not okay, or just being supportive of us. It's some tragic situation that we went through that's going to impact us the rest of our lives. If I see a mass shooting happen on the news or on social media, it still impacts me. Even though the shooting I was in was more than 15 years ago, it still impacts me. It takes us time, little by little, overcoming different aspects of as far as seeing fireworks shows or even going to classrooms again, going to concerts again. It takes a lot of time for us, and just be patient with us and really listen to what we have to say. We may not have answers to every question, but we could at least show from our perspective, being in that situation, what the moment is like when it happens to what the aftermath is like. Years later. We were very appreciative of your involvement in helping end this or slowing it down. We don't mind. Some of us don't mind sharing our stories. If someone doesn't want to share their story, don't try to pressure them into trying to share their stories. For me, it helps sharing what happened to me and also getting involved in different situations to where if this can help prevent one mass shooting, I'm completely fine with sharing my story or getting more involved. The advice I have for other survivors of mass shootings is it'll take time to recover, especially the days right after. Don't feel like you have to talk about it. A lot of media is going to try to reach out to you. A lot of people are going to try to ask you questions. You're going to get messaged on your social media. It's very overwhelming, and you're just trying to deal with yourself and what you've been through. If you really need help and you're very depressed and it's really impacting you, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to the people that are closest to you. I went through the same thing. A lot of media, we try to reach out to me, things on social media. I just wanted to stay at home, be with my family. Some friends came to visit, and that was very helpful. Try to find other survivors that went through it. One very, very, very impactful and important thing that happened to us is the injured victims of Virginia Tech invited the injured victims of Northern Illinois University out to their one-year memorial, which was 2 months after our shooting. And we were in a private room with them, and we just talked to them, and we just shared our stories. It was very, very helpful to me to talk to other survivors of mass shootings. And there's groups out there. I'm part of a private Facebook group that is run by a survivor of the Columbine shooting and a survivor of the Virginia Tech shooting. And it's just mass shooting survivors. We ask questions in there. We help each other out. I think that is one of the most impactful and very important things, is just talking to people that have been through the same thing as you, because we understand. We know what it's like for you. Others may not, whether it may be a counselor, family member, friend. They may not understand fully, but we do, and we're here to help.
To hear more from other survivors, visit the Supporting Mass Shooting Survivors website.